And away we go. It is the BCJ podcast brought to you by the Holy Grail. Right here on BearcatJournal.com. It's a new era for the Holy Grail. They are now serving Cincy Light. You can stop by the Holy Grail and get yourself a Cincy Light, and they will donate 50 cents on top of what Rheingeist is matching to Cincy Reigns. They will donate an additional 50 cents for every beer sold at the Holy Grail. Every Cincy Light sold, 50 cents will go to Cincy Reigns. Even more reason to support the best sports bar in the city at the Holy Grail Tavern and Grill at the Banks. They will get you taken care of as you are downtown and having a good time. All right, let's get to it. It is Battle for the Victory Bell week. Dave, are we going to have our normal Battle for the Victory Bell week conversation this week?
What about like not ever playing the game?
Are we ever going to? Yeah, should the rivalry continue? I mean, we almost have to. It's almost tradition. We've done it for however many Miami episodes we've had in these. What are we at now?
At this point, like
397 shows.
The contract what through 2029.
Yeah, 2029.
And so they're certainly not going to. I shouldn't say certainly. It's hard to imagine they're going to pay money to get out of a contract that doesn't cost them money.
Right.
So and you get essentially two quote unquote home games. I know they split a lot of the revenues and whatever at Paul Brown. But yeah, it's just, let's see what happens when we get to 2026 or 2027. And if there's no extension conversation in the works or have been executed, then maybe the conversation is worth having again.
You know what the funny part about this conversation now is? It would almost be better for Miami to cancel it.
Well, yeah, because they could charge someone
$1.5 million to play
somebody
a buy game from somebody every season and supplement their athletic department, because I'll tell you what they're not doing on game days in Miami, making $1.5 million.
What you're going to say, making money.
Well, that's kind of, that's what I was implying there. They certainly are not making $1.5 million. Like they got $1.5 million to go to Miami.
I mean, if you're gonna, be solely or largely committed to winning the MEC, which I think is actually the thing that they should be doing.
Yeah.
Then just play prostitute games.
Yeah.
Like play your FCS game at home.
Yep.
And then go get paid to play 3 other games, and then go try to win the MEC.
Yeah. Play two buy games.
Maybe you can get a home and home with like another G5, a Sun Belt, an AAC or whatever, and then go play 2 G5s. I mean, or G5s. Go play 2, power conference teams, so to speak, instead of playing $3 million. I don't even know. They played UMass. That's not an FCS. I don't even know who they play next week. It's got to be something along those lines. Since they've already played, this will be their 3rd quote unquote FBS or higher level team.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like you said, it almost makes more sense for them to try to get out of it.
Yeah, that's the funny part, is that conversation now kind of changes with how much money people are getting to pay to play buy games.
Well, that's the thing I always try to, in a very polite and reasoned way, explain to people when they want to get rid of the FCS game. And I'm like, okay, what are you replacing it with?
Right.
You're only paying these FCS teams probably on average $500,000.
Yeah.
So why you're not gonna replace it and then do a home and home with another MAC team.
Right.
You're not gonna replace it and do a buy game against a MAC or AAC or Sun Belt or Conference, because that's going to cost you a
free game and
paying someone over $1 million.
Yeah,
because I hear a lot. Well, why don't we turn the Miami game into our FCS game? And I'm like, okay, well, what are you replacing it with then?
It's a great question. I mean, it's interesting that like the conversation has like flipped on, you know, the Miami game, because it benefits them way more to get rid of it now than it does UC.
Good, yeah.
Just in different ways, not necessarily on the field, but it's interesting.
Because I mean, with whether it's like a Louisville, a Kentucky, Ohio State, Michigan State, like they could Purdue, Indiana, Pitt, they could find a very close proximity game, and probably wouldn't cost them that much, and and then make some decent scratch. But yeah. I don't think we need to have the tried and true Dave Simone, why do you hate playing this game conversation anymore. I've used all my ammo on that one for however many years. I'm sure people will be happy to just move on.
All right, let's put a bow on Pitt. And this segment is brought to you by Home Field, our partners at Home Field Apparel. Home Field's Can't Miss Kickoff is here to make sure you are ready for the 2023 college football season in style. New customers can get 15% off of their first order with promo code BCJ23. Go check out their Cincinnati line. It is outstanding. A lot of warm weather stuff, t-shirts, tank tops, things of that nature. But fall is starting to settle in, and they've got joggers, they've got hoodies, they've got crew necks, they've got quarter zips. You name it. They have all the good stuff. Were you about to say something?
No, I've been trying to repost your tweet about the show, and every time I would hit it, I would hit the YouTube link instead of the repost button. I did it like 3 times.
I saw you like you were mumbling something to yourself, like you were ready to say something. Turns out those were just cuss words.
Yeah, pretty much.
But homefieldapparel.com, they will get you taken care of. A great selection of a bunch of old school, retro UC designs, and super comfortable, and you will love it. BCJ23 at checkout. We'll get new customers 15% off. We've had a couple days. I know you guys touched on it extensively on the brunch, and we hit it again on the BBP on Monday, and then Aaron and George hit it last night. So this game has been talked about ad nauseum, but 4 days away from it, like, look, we didn't think this team was going to be 2-0. We thought the odds were that they would be 1-1. I think we felt better about their chances to win after week 1. And I mean, for all intents and purposes, that's a game that they controlled, Dave. Like it
for sure.
20-7, 27-7. Like, yeah, Pitt scored a couple touchdowns and at least made it interesting, but that was a game that, hey, I don't know how you could, I mean, sure, maybe if they finished off the second half and they won 34-7, like you feel better about it. But ultimately, you did get a little game pressure. But you took a physical team that wanted to punch you in the mouth, and you laid them up in the corner and didn't let them do any of the things that they wanted to do.
Yeah. I mean, I think whether it's me, like, home games, I'm tailgating and then watching the game. And then, like, for the Pitt game, we were at my parents', a bunch of people. So I do always try, even though on the next day's show, like, I know I'm not able to capture everything. So I do a lot of rewatching just to kind of go back over what, confirming or whatever I see. And I do actually have quite a bit of notes on this game, but I'll start offensively. I think, especially through the first 2 games, I've been really impressed with Emory Jones's accuracy when he is outside the pocket throwing the ball down the field.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still like 75%-ish or whatever, just in general. But against EKU, it was more of the like traditional deep ball. And that was, I mean, he threw great balls, but guys were also like several yards open. and they were hitting stride. It wasn't like they were several yards open.
Drop it in the bucket. Yeah,
and had to stop to catch the ball and then got tackled or whatever. But against Pitt, it was not the deep shots. It was rollouts where he's kind of fading back even away from pressure and still throwing very accurate passes, 15-ish plus yards down the field. I'm not saying that I totally didn't expect it, but that's, if you're an accurate passer or a not accurate passer, those are the type of throws which we saw on the other side with Phil Dracovic. You're just not going to all of a sudden just show up one day and be that accurate game when you haven't shown that in your past history. So, I mean, the way he's played, we talked about it a lot on last Wednesday's show of don't take a bad play and make it a terrible play. And I thought he did that a bunch. There were several times he dropped back, could tell that either guys weren't open or the pressure was coming, and he just got 3 yards or took a 4-yard sack. Like
I do want to give the staff a ton of credit on that. Like you could tell there was a emphasis on get 0. Like, don't let them tackle for loss you like into oblivion. And Corey Kiner didn't have a lost yard.
Where it makes it 2nd and 12 or 3rd and 13, and then they're coming, and you have to run a more developed route to even have a chance to get the first down. So you're almost like a sitting duck back there at some points. But no, I thought the way they called the game, and then the way that he managed it in the sense of just like, I'm just going to get what I can get. We'll live to play another down. We'll see what happens. Defense is playing good, especially when you're up 27-7 in the third quarter. Like, do not do anything that gives them, like we saw at the very end where the defense stood up and made the stop, but like, don't give them short fields. Like, they haven't driven the ball in you all game.
Right.
Don't put the ball, don't try to hold on to it. Don't put the ball in a bad spot where they only have to go 40 yards or something. So he's impressed me through 2 weeks. I think Corey Kiner looks much more decisive and quicker than he did last year. It seems like his vision has improved a little bit too. Just the way that he's kind of seen the holes, and they're not even really doing very much outside zone yet.
Even the stuff that they've been cutting up inside more than they've been taking it.
Yeah,
away.
It's not the traditional where like the half line, the center guard tackle are really moving down the line outside the hash marks, and the running back is kind of slow playing it, and then cutting it up when he sees that hole. Like, a lot of this stuff is still between the tackles.
Yeah.
I just think he just looks better. Like, I didn't think he was that kind of a runner last year, and I think
there were holes.
Well, that also can be the case. But I mean, even he's had the 2 long runs where there's been big holes, but even on his 11, 13, whatever yard runs he had against Pitt, he wasn't contacted until the linebackers, 4, 5, 6 yards downfield. So I thought he's been doing well.
I thought he did a great Mike Warren impersonation like 5 or 6 times where they had him hemmed up for what could have been a loss of 2 or 3, and he found his way back to the line of scrimmage.
At least, there was one. I don't know if it would have been fourth quarter where, the guys on the line pretty much missed their blocks, and they had him twice dead to rights, like 4 or 5 yards behind the line. And he did a jump cut and made one and just got back to the line of scrimmage. So no, he's been very good. You guys talked about it on Monday, just the overall offensive creativity, the variance in what they're doing. They against Pitt, they started moving on several run plays. They moved Buford outside of Williams and had power to the left. I don't think I saw it reverse. I don't think we've seen Williams go outside Buford, but they had, power to the left, which is a different look. It just feels like, I don't want to keep bemoaning this, but it just feels like there is a rhyme and reason to what they're doing offensively so far. Again, 2 games, 2 data points, SCS, and we'll get into what my opinion of Pitt is. Middling Power 5 team, but just to date, I've been happy with just what we've seen offensively. You know, you score 66, 27, you know, you're average, you know, we'll see, how that continues. But, and then I know there's been a lot of talk about like what happened in the second half. And from watching it, here's what I gathered. And Coach Satterfield even mentioned it. Like, he said, I probably called the second half maybe a little more conservative, but you call a game based on the time and score of the game.
You play to win the game.
It's 27-7. Before. He's not going to go 5 wide and chuck it.
Well, and here's the other thing that we talked about the other night. Like, it's not like they were super aggressive all game and then shut it down.
Stop.
The longest pass play was Braden Smith to Xavier Henderson.
Yeah.
Emory Jones, I don't think threw more than 2 or 3 balls over 20 yards.
His longest, I think, was 21. Most of them were like in the 15 to 20 range. But so Pitt certainly played better against the run.
Yeah.
We did not do as good of a job blocking. I saw several plays where guys just got beat pretty much instantly. And they run a 4-3. And so a traditional 4-3, you already have 7 guys roughly within 5 yards of the line. Well, when you're down 27-7 on first down, what do you have a pretty good idea. You have a pretty good idea that 80% of the time the team that's up 27-7 in the second half is going to run the ball. So what do you do as soon as it's snapped? Those linebackers take 2 steps up. So now you've got 7 guys within 2 yards of the line of scrimmage. And there's just not as many places for guys to run at that point.
Right.
Like they're more willing to sell out to stop the run because they're like, they're not going to throw. And if they do, then so be it. We'll either get to them because we have 7 guys fairly close, or they're going to win 50-7. We're going to take our chance that they're not going to just keep dropping back. So we're going to put 7 guys even closer to the line, run blitz, and not even necessarily run blitz, just step into those gaps and those holes when the ball snapped
hand off, right,
because we figured like there's a better than whatever chance that's what they're going to do, and that's what they did because that's what you do when you're up 20 in the second half, and you ran for 180 yards in the first half. So you're like, why would we stop running?
Exactly.
On the defensive side, Eric Phillips, I think, is he starting to answer our pre-camp or question about like who's the other guy besides DG?
I think so. I maybe want to see now I'm getting greedy. I maybe want to see a little more. Like I want to see him splash a little bit more. But when he's splashed, like he's been really good.
If he has a sack a game, I'll be pretty happy.
Yeah, sure. Like I said,
it's what he's on pace for.
I said I was getting greedy, Dave, because he's looked so good on those 2 sacks. Like maybe show me a little more of that, EP. Maybe.
Yeah. Pitt's passing game?
Trash.
So tell me if you've ever seen this. Have you ever watched a passing game and a quarterback performance that was that bad that had 3 touchdowns and no interceptions?
No. I said what it reminded me of. I don't know if you agree or not. It reminded me of Temple a couple years ago. Yeah. Where they didn't have any other offense than just send guys vertical and hope that you have enough time to chuck it up in the air and see what happens.
Yeah. I rewatched today a little bit because I wanted to chart his throws. So on throws of 15 yards or more, like air yards, that were actual plays, didn't result in a penalty, he was 4 for 16.
And the one was when he almost got sacked. And
the one was a punt that the receiver always has the upper hand because he's looking back at the ball.
Yeah.
The DB's tracking the receiver. So the DB has no idea that the quarterback got hit and the ball went 30 yards up in the air and 10 yards short of where he thinks it's going to go based on how the receiver's running. The receiver sees it, immediately stops, turns around, and there's no way a DB can do that, especially if you're playing man. If you're playing zone, then the safety has a chance to come over.
Right.
But we play man, so your back is going to be turned. It's just the luck of the bad luck of the situation. But their awfulness passing the ball does still give me some concern when we play. Like, there were several that much better receivers and quarterbacks would have been able to complete. So how do you?
Well, I don't fully agree with that, because a lot of those he was still under pressure to where, how does it affect any quarterback when they're trying to throw with somebody in their
Yeah,
face?
but there were also quite a few where he was. You would expect a major Division I quarterback to complete more passes than he did when he was not like in the process of getting hit.
Didn't he throw for 300 on Louisville last year?
At BC, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he lit them up pretty good.
They had Zay Flowers too. That probably helped.
True.
You can throw him a lot of screens and get a lot of yards, but
sure.
I just, I think he's bad. His arm strength was a surprise to me. Like, I felt like he couldn't really push the ball down the field with any velocity. Like, there were so many balls.
They just floated.
Well, they float, or they just nosedived. Like, how many did landed at guys' feet?
Yeah. Well, anytime he tried to put zip on it, it was like a sinker.
So, I think we're gonna get a very similar passing attack this week. Not in that Gabbert's arm is like that, but I think they're gonna just throw it up to Gage Laverdan as many times as they can, and just hope he either outruns a guy or gets a penalty.
That will be interesting, because it will be really the first time we've seen a legit number one wide receiver. I can tell you what Pitt did not do on Saturday. They did not really test Jordan Young.
They didn't. Well, they also didn't complete a single pass to their number one receiver, and they threw it at him 11 times.
Yeah. Well, I guess they did try to test Jordan. They did not successfully test Jordan Young, I guess is what I'm getting at.
But then, like Justin Harris, I know we've talked a lot about that. I think his technique was good. He just gets grabby. I mean, he got handsy last year. When you're a man corner, like, you're going to use your hands. Like, that's part of the deal. He just, got a little over aggressive with him. I don't think it wasn't like he was getting beat bad and just grabbing guys to keep them from scoring 70-yard touchdowns.
Right.
and Coach Satterfield mentioned it post-game, and he mentioned it this week, just talking about, like, saying giving him some help. I read that as, like, maybe not playing 100% man. Like, maybe
leaving him a safety over the top.
Maybe shading the safety. Hell, because they're going to be a man team. I want them to be a man team. You're aggressive as a man. Like, that's fine. But you do need to be able to adjust in game, whether it's a guy's just torching your guy or a guy's just having a hard time with grabbing and they're calling it. And yeah, some of those were not fouls. Some of them absolutely were. So you got to be able to kind of make adjustments in game. You can't just always be like, hey, we're a man team and we're going to do that no matter what. And he's just got to stop. Like, no, sometimes you got to give him help. I mean, if an offensive tackle is having a hard time blocking a really good defensive end, they don't just say, hey, this is how we do it. You're just going to have to figure it out. Like, they chip, they add a tight end. Like, they do. Offenses do different things. So I think defensively they need to do the same. And then kind of the last thing is this game, of course you don't know how it would go 100%, but like there were 4 plays that were huge changes in the game that UC could have won by even more. They had 3rd and 11 in the second half and an incomplete pass. Daniel Gresham got a personal foul, hands to the face, so it gave him a new set of downs. 3rd and 10.
Both guys had hands to the face, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know. 3rd and 10, PI, new set of downs. They score a touchdown on 4th and 9, and then they score a touchdown on 3rd and 10 from the 16. Just because, like, if that pass is incomplete, are they going for it? I mean, I'm assuming they are, but they're going for it on 4th and 10 from our 16. Obviously, if they don't score the touchdown on 4th and 9, it's our ball. So there were just a lot of points in the game that, we had, screw ups, got the raw end of the deal, whatever you want to say, that could have even changed things more.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought ultimately they played really well for 4 quarters. Yeah, the fourth quarter wasn't what you wanted, but some of that was, again, like you're talking about, Pitt was fortuitous on multiple different occasions in that fourth quarter where if they don't make one play, things look drastically different. If they don't get one flag, things look drastically different.
I mean, we had a busted coverage on a 60-yard pass, and they were able to capitalize on it. And, you're not going to – that's the thing, too, is like sometimes, like in the first half, the offense and the defense played really good. Obviously, you're up 20-7, and then you score. They fumble, 11 minutes or so to go in the third quarter, and you score quickly, and you're up 27-7. And then the offense doesn't play as well, and the defense doesn't play as well, and they get back in it. But then they both played well at the end. Like, you're just not gonna like this team this year. These opponents, you're just not gonna have games like we used to have, where you just show up and you just roll first, second, third, fourth quarter, and you don't even break a sweat, and you're like, this is 42-0 at halftime, and we did whatever we wanted. That's not gonna happen.
You're also playing P5 teams who have generally a great deal of talent, or a great deal more talent than most of the teams in the American that they were playing. So,
yes.
Yeah, I'm with you. Your thoughts on Pitt?
I don't think they're very good. Like, if they go 6-6, I'll be surprised.
Really?
Yeah. Like, that offense is dreadful.
But they don't have any splash at running back. They really
They didn't even try.
Yeah.
Like, they're splitting carries between three, like, okay, pretty good guys. They ran the ball 18 times. Now, granted, they were down, but, like, you're supposed to be a run. Like, you can still run it to get back into a game. Like, you don't have to drop back and throw every play.
I mean, it was 17-7 in the middle of the second quarter. That's not.
It was 10-7, right? It was their quarter. Like, Phil Jakovic is awful. I don't know if he's that bad, going to be that bad every week, but like that. If I'm a fan and I saw my quarterback do that, where he's bouncing balls, throwing balls out of bounds, like I'm like, this is the best guy we got.
Yeah. I also think like that was validation on how good this defensive line is.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good offensive line.
They're 1.5-point favorites against West Virginia this week.
Vegas caught up real quick.
I mean, they still play Louisville, Florida State, Notre Dame, North Carolina. Like,
they're gonna have to score.
If they don't win this week, like my 6-6 thing might really be accurate.
Yeah. Michigan State will not be hiring Pat Nurk.
No,
they didn't look good. Like and we'll find out. Like, hey, guess what? We found out Eastern Kentucky was a lot better than 66.
We all know Narduzzi like does not like offense.
Yeah,
but like, okay, so then just be a man ball team. Like, be a big smashy ugly team. They don't even doing that.
Yeah, be a Big Ten team. No, they try to be an ACC team.
They ran no screens. They ran no quick game. There was no quick game at all in their passing game. None.
They got dominated at the point of attack.
So wouldn't you run quick game?
Yeah, you would try.
Instead of dropping this guy back and throwing it 20, 30 yards down the field more than 50% of the time?
Yeah. They did not look good. So, in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I'm not sure about those guys moving forward, but whatever.
I mean, when Cincinnati's in the national championship hunt, we're going to hear about them.
Yeah, it might not be. It might be looked at as like a bad. The old bad win. The bad wins. The good loss. The good losses and the bad wins. That was always my favorites in basketball.
It's a bad win.
Bad win and a good loss. I didn't know there was such a thing as a good loss.
Anything else on Pitt?
Not on Pitt. I'm all good there.
All right. That brings us to our Turtles Brew timestamp. 0 carbs, 0 sugar, gluten-free, bourbon-infused sweet tea. Visit www.turtlesbrew.com for more information and locations. They have cherry lime, raspberry peach, orange vanilla. They have 50 locations in Greater Cincinnati. A portion of the proceeds go to Save the Sea Turtles. They are in Toledo, Cincinnati, and expanding now in Central Ohio.
I do want to answer Josh's question real quick because I think it's an
Okay.
interesting one.
Okay.
Asking about how many above average QBs do you think we're going to play the rest of the year? So obviously Miami, I think Brett Gabbert is an above average QB.
Mhm.
Oklahoma, whether it's Dylan Gabriel or Jackson Arnold, above average.
I think Dylan Gabriel's pretty average, but that's
Well,
just me.
I mean, he's
I
more
would
than
give him
more than
average.
more than 60 teams in the country would want him as their quarterback.
Yeah, I'm just saying I would go average.
BYU, Keaton Slovis, very average. Like, can he have a great game? Sure, because he's done it several times. But can he be terrible? Yeah, he did it last year against Louisville.
Yeah.
Iowa State, no. Baylor, if their starter's healthy, yeah, he's above average. Oklahoma State, at this point, I would say no, because they're still playing 3 quarterbacks, so that tells me that there's not one that's outstanding. UCF, is John Rice Plumlee playing? If he is, yes. If not, no. Houston, no. West Virginia, no. And Kansas, yes. So, like 4, 5?
Yeah.
6, if we're,
Being overly
generous.
generous. Yeah. 10 games left. That's about half.
Yeah.
It's about half.
The more interesting one is how many defenses are above average.
Because Pitt still might be one of the top 2 or 3 defenses they play all season.
Well, we'll get into it next week, but and it's very early, so there are still in SP Plus is one of them that there's still a lot of preseason prediction baked into
Noise,
SP Plus, and a lot of these K Ford I think is one where it's your first game is worth 100%. So if you blow the shit out of EKU, you look great. And then now the 2 games are worth 50%, and then after this week it'll be worth 33. And Oklahoma's defense is actually awesome so far.
Yeah.
So
which they flipped. Their offense is
okay.
It's not phenomenal.
Right. So yeah, we'll see what they do at Tulsa this week with all the, I don't know if I want to call it turmoil, but there's just a lot of noise around the program right now. So we'll see how much that affects their game and having a rough go of it against SMU last week. But yeah, there's certainly not a quarterback that we play the rest of the year where I'm like, this dude might light us up no matter what we do.
Yeah.
Jalen Daniels is pretty damn good.
He might.
Their offense is so fun to watch. But that's a long time from now. So
a lot can happen between now and Kansas.
Yeah, November.
Now
25th.
in November. Yeah. Late
Although football is obviously my favorite season, but I hate it so much. We are already after Saturday, we'll be a quarter of the way done.
Yep.
It sucks so much. We talk about it all year. We can't wait for September to get here, and boom, like that, we're going to be 3 games in.
Yeah. It's interesting. All right, let's get to taking a look at Miami. That is brought to you by Team Ticker, our weekly preview. We got a special, Dave. Team Ticker is running a 25% off promotion starting this Saturday to celebrate the addition of both Michigan State and Penn State into the line. So all you have to do, order your Team Ticker, get 25% off starting on Saturday. If you don't know, Team Ticker is a one-of-a-kind sports sign. It's a high-tech retro display that provides daily updates of the latest news, stats, schedules, and much more. No subscription required. If you're looking for the perfect addition to your man cave or a gift for that special Bearcats fan, maybe a dorm room, maybe your kid's bedroom. You got a younger kid that's in high school. It'd be a great addition for their bedroom. Go to teamticker.com and pick up your Team Ticker today.
Do you think Mel Tucker has one?
He's got an iPad, but I don't think it's playing Team Ticker. He's playing something else.
Ooh, what a mess that is.
Ooh. Ooh. Yeah. I don't even want to. I don't even get in that general vicinity.
No.
I don't want to make jokes. We're just going to leave that alone. Miami. We talked a big time quarterback, a good high level wide receiver. He actually is helps in the return game as well, right?
Returns punts. Yeah.
They use him in a lot of ways. He had 270 yards or whatever.
On 9 catches, 3 touchdowns.
9 catches, had a 99-yard touchdown catch. But offensively, it's those two, right? They don't have a ton else.
Yeah, I mean, it's again 2 games, but Gabbert's 56% on the year, a little over 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. 2021 was his best year, and he was still a 60% passer. So just like I mentioned last week, this guy's in his 5th year. He's pretty much a 60 to 62% passer. They've given up 6 sacks so far in the 2 games. He's not real. I don't really think he's a runner. I'm sure he will if he has to. Yeah, but they're not designing anything for him. But he will push the ball down the field. The receiver is Gage Larvidan, a Southeast Louisiana transfer. So
they will feed him.
Oh yeah, he's got 16 catches. Nobody else has more than 2.
Yeah.
So he'll line up outside. He'll line up in the slot. He's a smaller guy, and he's got legit speed. So I'll be interested to see what Brian Brown does. Do we just say, screw it? We're just going to double him. We're going to shade the safety. We're going to, you want to throw it to him? Great. We're going to put 2 guys over there, and we're going to, dare you to just throw it to your other guys. Does he say, we're going to mix it up because I don't want to give up a deep ball? Because this dude will run by our guys. He is legit fast. If they give him enough time to run a deep ball play, he will run deep.
Right.
So do you see a little bit more zone? I mean, we don't even know if I haven't watched enough Louisville tape. I don't even know if they'll play any zone. I might just
is it in the repertoire?
Yeah, I might just be making this up. Hey, let's play some zone. And he might go, we don't play zone. We literally don't at all.
You would think with what is essentially an attacking 3-4 defense, there would be some zone.
Well, it's hard to play zone if you're going to rush 6 and 7 guys all the time.
True.
Because there's only 4 guys up there. There's not a lot of zones for them to occupy.
Right.
if the other team has 3 or 4 wide receivers out there, it makes it a little different. But
to play zone, ideally you have 6 at least.
You at least have some 5.
Yeah.
Because you could zone a portion of the field with 5 guys. With 3 versus 2.
If you're asking 4 guys to play zone, they're playing man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the zones are gigantic.
So running back, Rashad Amos, he's got 31 carries. Nobody else has more than 9. He's another bigger guy like Daniel Carter last week, 6'2", 234, fullback size. They have no rushing touchdowns this year through 2 games. Obviously, they didn't score a touchdown against Miami, Florida. Right. But I just their line. They've got some either youth / and or inexperience in the middle. Got some returning guys, but I don't see their line being able to withstand our line if Pitt's line couldn't. And they
are they going to be allowed to grab people as they run by them?
We'll see. I'm sure we'll see more quick game. I mean, that's where EKU had success, was on quick game. Yeah, they didn't hit any shot plays. It was on quick game.
Yeah.
So if I'm Chuck Martin and I'm watching the 2 games that UC's played so far, and I've watched one team have some success throwing the ball quickly, and I watched another team not have any success because they sat back there and threw it down the field all the time, I'm probably going to lean back into a little bit more quick game and put Gage Larvidan in the slot to get him the ball.
Yeah.
And not just keep running him down the field thinking that my line's going to hold up long enough for them to get there. Defensively, offensively, though, again, 2 games, but they're 120 in SP+. That is dreadful.
especially when you have a star wide receiver that just had a
I mean, like
270-yard game
they were probably so bad against Miami.
Yeah.
That playing UMass, they still threw 2 interceptions against UMass and fumbled. So it wasn't like it was clean. And they were up 31-28 in the fourth quarter with 11 minutes left before they scored 2 touchdowns to make it look like a bigger score. I mean, it was a pretty back and forth game. Actually, they jumped out 21-0, and UMass came back and made it more of a game in the fourth quarter. Some wild travel stuff. So this is their 3rd straight road game.
Mm-hmm.
I actually love listening to Chuck Martin's press conferences because he just tells you exactly what he thinks. It's great. So they had that huge weather delay. They ate their post-game meal at 7:30 in the locker room when it was still the first quarter. Because he's like, we ate pregame at 11:30. The game was supposed to start at 3:30. Now we're on a 5-hour delay. These guys are starving.
Right.
Like, obviously, UMass, probably not the best facilities. They brought extra buses in, and the players just took their gear off and went and sat in the buses because they were air conditioned.
Because there was more room than what you had in the UMass locker room.
Well, it certainly wasn't as like hot and muggy and humid and everything. So they didn't get back. Like UC's game ended well before theirs did. They didn't get back to Oxford until 6:30 Sunday morning.
Holy crap!
So Sunday's obviously a wash for them, and then they'll make it up.
UC could have took buses and been home from Pitt quicker than that.
They could have driven to Pitt. They could have driven home and driven back to Pitt and still gotten back before they. So I'm not sure how much of an effect that'll have on them only 2 games into the season, but it certainly interrupted their traditional schedules and
it blows off. It completely crushes Sunday. Anything you did on Sunday is pretty much out.
He said they let them sleep for a while and then just got a lift in basically so they could just keep their bodies from not shutting down, but so you still feel like you're doing everything you're supposed to do. Defensively, they're 85th in SP plus. They have 4 sacks through 2 games. I'd say Matt Salpak, linebacker, is probably their best player, and then Michael Dow is an MSU Michigan State transfer that was on their team last year. Safety, he's got 2 interceptions so far this year. They're pretty good guys. Defensive line's all right. Kobe Hilton's probably the best D lineman. 3 returning starters, but not. I mean, like you'd expect, not the size to probably handle UC in ground game. Corners are young, inexperienced. I think we could see more of the EKU game plan. Let's take some shots down the field. UMass hit him for a 50-yard touchdown over the top. So I think you could, me and you both thought EKU, we're gonna just run it down their throat.
Yeah.
And they came out and threw it all over the place at the beginning. I'm not saying it's going to be 100% back to that, but I think you're going to see more of the EKU game plan with, the half rolls and the drop back and the straight drops and airing it out.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, Satterfield told us on Tuesday, we're not going to give them time to get after us. We are going to have a clock in practice. We're going to be screaming his internal clock on when he needs to get the ball out. We're going to be designing plays so that he's not standing back there, waiting for guys to run open. Some of that because they're pass rush. Some of it also, as we saw, they're pretty good in coverage. Even the longer plays that Cincinnati completed, for the most part, Pitt had a guy that was in, positive coverage. That's not going to be the case with Miami. You're not going to have to adjust your game plan. And we didn't talk about this enough, just to quickly go back to Pitt. That was the advantage of Satterfield knowing Narduzzi's defense, as they knew going in, we have to drill these guys all week on this, and this, because we know what's coming from them. He doesn't know that against Miami, but I just don't think there's a whole lot that Miami's defense does that is going to make you have to dip into your bag of tricks.
Right. You're gonna run your stuff.
Yeah.
You'll obviously game plan for what they do good, what they do poorly, and
sure, but I'm just saying there's not
Yeah.
anything that you're like, look, like we have to get away from what we want to do, like because they're so good at X,
Yeah.
Y, and Z.
So
you don't have that with Miami.
right. And for a little bit of comparison on the analytical data side, so Sagarin ratings, they rank everybody, FBS and FCS, in the same rating. So Miami's 23rd, UC's 31st. So you have Miami, Florida. They're, pretty similar.
Yeah.
Miami, Ohio's 111. If I told you EKU was 23 spots higher than UMass, would you be surprised?
Not really. Not really.
So EKU is 167 and UMass is 190. So our FCS team, at least in one ratings,
was the better test than
is the better. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't think this will be too close if UC plays anywhere like they've played the first two games. You have you've had one interception, you've had one ball that was on the field that would have been considered a fumble, but Miles Montgomery recovered his own fumble.
Yeah,
that was against EKU. Like they haven't put the ball in a bad spot. They haven't. I should say what Emory got hit and fumbled against EKU.
Yeah, the sack fumble.
So 2 turnovers in 2 games. But I think cleaning up some of the penalties, just kind of like this same stuff you work on from game 1 to game 2 and now game 2 to game 3. Jason asked about Avion Smith.
Hold on. I was certain that said Aaron when I glanced over at it in the chat. Well, Aaron Smith taking any snaps for the Red Hawks on Saturday.
Aaron Smith takes any chances, I don't like, or takes any snaps, I don't like their chances, especially if they want him to run the option. I don't think his lungs can handle it.
Still have 4 years of eligibility.
Congratulations.
No, you don't.
I wouldn't stun me if he played, if they put in a run package for him. I don't think he's really seen that yet. I think he's thrown one pass. He probably got in the Miami game.
Yeah, late, whatever.
I highly doubt he played in the UMass game. So, could we? Sure, but we kind of saw what he did last year. He's a chucker. The only passes they completed with him last year was he just threw it up down the sideline to Mac Hippenhammer. And
that might be the most effective offense against the Bearcats.
It's probably going to be the case. Either run slants or just go balls and sideline fades.
Yeah. Nothing inside the hashes.
No, that's the other thing that stunned me about Pitt. Like Gavin Bartholomew.
Great tight end. It was awesome when they got him the ball.
3 balls, and he was, one of the, silly things I like doing is listening and watching other teams that do things like we do after we beat them to hear them crying, complain, blah, blah, blah. Apparently, he did not play the last 2 series they had the ball on right after the drive where he had a 60-yard catch and the touchdown.
And then touchdown, yeah. They didn't play him?
Apparently not. There were people saying that they were sitting behind the Pitt bench and he was demonstrably upset. They said positively was not in on the drive, the next drive they had the ball. Not 100% sure if he played on the last drive where we got the sack on 4th down. But yeah, your most efficient, successful offensive weapon that game, you just don't play on at least one of 2 drives when you're down 6.
Wow. That seems like a coaching issue.
He was their offensive guy that I was most worried about going into the game.
And it proved to be accurate. He was the one guy that actually hurt them.
Well, I don't watch all these crappy teams for the hell of it. I was up till 2:00 in the morning watching Oklahoma State, Arizona State Saturday night.
I know you were in the chat as me and Keegan were going. I'm like, Dave, did you already wake up for tomorrow?
Nobody can ever say that I'm not committed.
You are pot committed, there, Dave. Pot committed. But I would rather see Aaron Smith take snaps than Avion.
That would be funny. Just Dante Corleone just sitting on Aaron.
Yeah. Any trap game concerns? Like,
no,
you know,
they're not any good.
We have seen them come out. Like even last year, it was 17-7 Miami. We've seen them come out and treat this as if it means more to them than it means to Cincinnati.
I think we saw. Yeah, I think we saw last year that the Bearcats were pretty inconsistent all year long. So that's not like looking back, that wasn't like a huge surprise.
The other big thing was last year they had been notorious for starting brutally slow. And this year slow starts have not been a
two games in of Scott Satterfield coaching the Bearcats. The first quarter has been quite the quarter. I think, what are we averaging like 20-something points in the first quarter through 2 games?
I don't think it's that much, but it's in the teens, I would assume.
Well, we had 17 last week, didn't we?
Did they? I thought it was only 10 in the first, and then the 17 came. It might have been. I don't know. Was it 28 against EKU? They didn't get 28 against. It was 21, I think.
Well, here, let me see real quick.
Okay.
We had 10 in the first quarter last week, 10 in the second quarter.
Yeah.
And then against EKU, we had 21. So 31.
16. So 15 and a half.
So you're averaging 2 touchdowns in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Plus 2 touchdowns plus.
Yeah. Generally, the good news is you're.
So why don't we just carry that over to the other 3 quarters and win 4 and score?
That's what I would do.
I mean, just do that. If you could do it in the first quarter, why can't you do it in all the other quarters?
That's absolutely what I would
That's
do.
when the other team is most prepared for you, is at the beginning.
Right.
We're not tired yet.
Although what it does tell me, there were a lot of great things about the previous staff. I never felt their offensive script.
Oh, you want to bring up the SMU game last year?
Go ahead.
No, I don't want to talk about it because it was one of the most absurd first quarters of play calling I've ever seen.
I thought they were really good at adapting and adjusting as the game went on to what the opponent was attempting to do. But man, you just never really got that feeling that like, all right, we're going to come out on these. And you felt it when they played a lot of different teams where it was like, damn, that team was ready. They scored 10 points in the first quarter and then didn't score the rest of the game. Like Houston in the AAC championship.
Yeah,
like they were
first couple drives, they went right down the field.
Yeah, they were scripted to the nines on those first couple drives.
Throw the ball to Tank Dell.
Right. And then they couldn't make that happen the rest of the game because I do think the staff did a great job adjusting as games went on, the previous staff. But offensive-minded coach, man, they put a lot of value in. We're sitting down before this game, scripting these first 2 drives or 15 plays or whatever it is. And they have been very good on the first couple drives in each of these 2 games.
No doubt.
What's the Simone family tailgate? Give me 1 second.
I think it's I was told today. Let me look, refresh my memory. It is pulled pork sandwiches.
All right.
Cincy Lights, Jello shots. Who knows what else?
I mean, maybe a good game for me to do some 3-way slide or some cheese county sliders.
I mean, I think every game's a good game for that.
Well, but I mean, it's a night game, so like, you know.
Yeah.
I can whip it up while we're.
Yeah, you're not in a, the days aren't as rushed for the assembled professional media when it's a night game.
Also, I'm now the single parent of a 13-year-old. Like I have getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning. There are a lot of things to take care of.
Do you think
If I'm,
Keegan will grace us with his presence at the tailgate, or will he
I don't know.
will he not show up again?
I don't know. I wonder if he knows how important it is to you.
Will he go into the stadium 9 hours early again?
He's you know, the big J, the real big J journos.
Big J Journo.
They like to be in the stadium super early, Dave.
Can't be bothered hanging out with us commoners.
No, like the unwashed masses are you know, an afterthought.
I think he's just afraid like we're gonna hold him down and force him to do Jello shots.
I think George might stop by. George heard Jello shots and perked right up last night.
Oh, George is more than welcome to stop by. Just tell him where we're at.
I already did. He
All
said
right.
he parks in Campus Green.
Okay.
So I was like, all you got to do is just take the elevator up to the top, walk out the door. There we are.
Yeah, absolutely. More the merrier.
Yeah, I think this, like, we don't know. There's no scheduled, like, weeknight night games.
Mm-hmm.
And we won't know, like, if there's, you know, if there's going to be, if they keep winning, maybe we get a night game down the road. But I think it might be a good time to whip out or do you think I should do the cheese coating sliders or come up with something new?
No, those were fantastic.
Okay.
Do
I might
them
need to bring
again.
more. There wasn't enough last time.
Well, you saw the crowd. We have a big crowd.
Yeah, it's you know, this is as big as the Simone family. Feel like it's growing exponentially.
Some people weren't even there, so yeah, it's a wonderful time.
Yeah, I you know, it's thoroughly enjoyable, and you might get a cheesecake or a cheese coney slider. My own
Carrie Simone said, "Bring them."
Bring them. All right. I don't want to mess up the flow.
Oh, there's nothing to mess up. Believe me, I'll eat them.
You got a prediction for the Red Hawks?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Let's go 48-13.
Okay.
They do have a good kicker, so I feel like if they get a couple drives that stall out, they got a good chance to kick some field goals.
Yeah, it's fair. Everybody excited to watch Ivan Pace on Thursday Night Football tomorrow? Yes.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And Jason Kelsey.
Yeah. We're always excited to watch him, right? Did you watch the Amazon thing yet? I haven't.
We watched it last night.
What'd you think?
It's very good. I would say it's 85% Jason. Like it tracks the Eagles season. I mean, there's obviously parts in it where Travis is involved, but the show is mainly about Jason.
Barwin is involved as
right.
Like
he's the producer. Yeah.
And he's in the Is he still in the Eagles front office?
I don't think he does anything for them. He's also very, very skinny, which
yes.
But he's in it a few times. Brent Selleck's in it.
All the Bearcat love. Was Taylor Swift in it?
Taylor Swift did not make an appearance.
Okay.
She was
I've never seen my daughter more excited about anything than the idea of Travis Kelce dating Taylor Swift.
As long as it ruins his career and propels the Bengals to the Super Bowl, I'm fine with it. When she starts writing songs about their breakup.
Oh, boy. All right. That's a timestamp brought to you by Turtles Brew. 0 sugar, 0 carbs, gluten-free, bourbon infused sweet tea, cherry lime, raspberry peach, orange vanilla, 50 locations in greater Cincinnati. TurtlesBrew.com for more information and locations. 6% ABV, or if you'd like, you can put a little extra bourbon in your Turtles Brew to up the potency. A portion of the proceeds go to Save the Sea Turtles. They are in Cincinnati and Toledo and now expanding in Central Ohio again. TurtlesBrew.com for more information and locations. Thoughts on the Big 12 this week, Dave?
This is
we don't have to do everybody, but like
this is a dud week. Next week is, tell
conference play for many.
Well, just nationwide next week is like tell the wife, tell the girlfriend, tell the husband, whatever you got. I'm watching football all day.
I'm taking applications right now, Dave.
Okay.
I need somebody to tell I'm not going to be available because I'm busy.
This week, oh my God. So your big game.
Well, I mean, not even necessarily this week, but like any reaction from last week leading into this week.
Oh,
like
Baylor.
Last week tell you anything.
Baylor, I'm very worried about.
Okay.
They've lost 6 in a row. The quarterback's out for at least another couple weeks. They just, I don't know. They don't got it, man. And they've got an FCS game this week, and then Texas at UCF and Texas Tech. So they might get lucky, and Plumlee might be out for that UCF game.
I like the USF kid.
I don't know.
I liked him when UC played him. I haven't seen anything of him since. When UC played him, he was a big kid. He's fast.
If he was that good, would he have transferred somewhere to be a backup?
Would you want to say it, USF?
I would have gone somewhere and played.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, the NFL sees guys at every level now. You're not getting seen backing up John Rice Plumlee.
Well, now he's not.
Well,
he took a gamble on John Rice Plumlee. He's going to get injured a couple times a year.
That's a pretty good gamble because he gets hurt every year. But no, like this week, I mean, it's dreadful. Your big games are West Virginia, Pitt, TCU, Houston, Kansas State, Missouri, I guess is halfway decent. Houston, yeah. I mean, there's, one conference, one interconference game, one Big 12 game. But other than that, it's pretty dreadful. But
Jason, by the way, Kendall Briles is not Art Briles' son-in-law.
No, Jeff Levy is
just his son.
He's married.
Just the fruit of his loins.
No, he got it right. Jeff Levy, Art Briles is Jeff Levy's father-in-law.
Okay,
yeah, he's right.
Okay. I was thinking Kendall Briles.
I'm interested to see what that does to him this week.
That's my bad, Jason. Sorry.
It'll probably, pass over by the time we play him next week. Oh yeah, like Houston, TCU. I don't know. I mean, Dana. I mean, I love the guy. I mean, he's basically said, "I got a buyout. You want to pay it? Go ahead."
Yeah.
So
he is one of us in that. You want to pay me to not work? Fucking do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. Just fine.
Pitt and West Virginia, I guess that's a good, we'll see, but there's really nothing worthwhile this week. I'm just trying to think of I'm not super worried about Texas Tech yet. Oregon's really good. They played a really good game against them.
Yeah.
I don't love them as my Big 12 championship participant pick, but
right.
We cannot gloss over Texas, and
they apparently are pretty good.
They are pretty good, and the part that is surprising me the most about their win against Alabama is their line play. I knew they had a good quarterback. I knew they had awesome dudes at receiver and tight end. I did not see them having, especially their defensive line versus Alabama's offensive line, seeing them being a team that puts that kind of pressure on Alabama.
Yeah. I said from the start, I don't think this is a good Bama team.
They feel like a two-loss non-SEC. They're still, the thing is, you got to
have a quarterback.
You have to, though, take into account, they're bad, was against really, really good. So who are they playing the rest of the year that has as much talent as Texas? Like, even my guys don't. LSU, maybe. Like, it's not like they lost to Mississippi State where everybody's like, oh, yeah, this is the year. Like, they lost by 10 at home to a team that's, probably going to contend to go to the playoff. So I'm not sure we're going to see some like huge drop off unless they have a bunch of injuries.
Yeah, but I mean, what that tells me is they're prone to playing a considerably larger number of close games than.
Well, yeah, I mean, last year their 2 losses were in overtime to LSU and that field goal to Tennessee in Knoxville. So like their bad year where they lost 2 games in the regular season was still like it took the other teams playing incredibly well and very, very close games to beat them.
Yeah, I don't see that this year. I see like I feel like there's going to be 3 or 4 games where they're going to have to like either hold on late or make that, come back at the wire that they've been so like good at over the years in the few times that it's necessary. Like, I don't know. I think this might be like a 2-3 loss Bama team.
I could see 2. If they lose 3 games, I'd be pretty surprised. But I mean, they could. I think Texas, Kansas State have kind of through 2 games. Yeah, they're kind of like up here.
Big on Kansas State.
They're kind of up here, and everybody else is doing one of these each week, like behind them. But like,
if you were power ranking, where would you power rank Cincinnati right now?
Okay, so Texas
7, 8.
Yeah, let me just think this real quick. Texas 1, Kansas State 2. I'd still probably put Oklahoma 3. Kansas 4. Just based off what I've watched so far. Yeah. I'd probably put UCF 5, but that is with an asterisk because I don't know how long the quarterback's out. And then I'd have like TCU, I don't know, probably 7 or 8, but I'd have like TCU, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, and UC like throw them up.
Pick a name out of the hat.
However they fall, I won't argue with you. If UC comes out 6th, I won't argue with you, and if they come out 9th, I won't argue with you.
Pick a name out of the hat.
Yeah.
One of our favorite things to do here.
Yeah, that's kind of how I've seen it so far. Because all of them have kind of played a very similar schedule. Like, as far as teams go, they've all kind of played that middle-of-the-road Power 5 game, Colorado being TCU's, which they clearly look much better than we all thought going into the season.
Yeah.
But all those teams have played that Power 5. Well, Texas Tech's played out Oregon. They're easily the best team that middle group has played. But they've all kind of played that Power 5 home game and then an FCS team. So it's tough. It's still kind of tough to say. But I do think there's like Texas, Kansas State, then Oklahoma, Kansas, then that group of 4, and then the rest.
Fair. I think that's 7, 8 was kind of where I was thinking with Cincinnati. And I think, is that what? One group above where maybe we were thinking beginning of the season? Like in that 6 and 6, 7 and 5 range, probably would have been 10, 11 maybe.
Depends. Yeah, it just depends on how the schedules break out. But yeah,
sure.
I mean, yeah, because like what did we say? Like everybody was up in arms that they got media pulled to finish 13th. I'm like, if they'd have got picked 11th, would it have mattered that much different to you?
Which is essentially where we picked them roughly, like 9th, 10th, 11th, somewhere in there.
Yeah, you could certainly go 6 and 6 and finish 8th through 10th in the conference.
Right.
So no, I think I feel better about the long-term accomplishments of this season off of the first 2 games, just because to me, just the way that they've looked has given me more encouragement. And that's what I said going into the year was like, if they go 4-8 or 5-7, but they lose 2 games on the last second kick, that's totally different than going 5-7 and losing by 20 against the 3 best teams you play.
Right. I just think that they've looked competent, right? Like they haven't looked unorganized. They haven't looked like a team with a new head coach and 23 transfers.
Well, I mean, I'll use them as another example. Colorado, UC, Colorado, and I'm sure there's others. I don't know everybody's number of transfers or whatnot, but this is telling me that if you have the right organization and you have the right culture and you have the right leadership and the right people identifying the talent, you can take a big transfer class and you don't need to burn a year trying to get everybody on the same page.
Right.
So the old school year 0 or whatever is gone.
If you have the cojones to do it.
Well, it should be I'm saying the expectation. If all these teams can take on transfers and a new coaching staff and everything and not just be dreadful. I mean, the year 0 thing was because it was there's so much turnover, you'll be lucky to win 2 games.
I would also say there's a difference that people didn't calculate, and that there's a difference between your coach leaving a wildly successful 5-year stretch
and firing a guy
because the culture was bad, the talent was bad, nothing fit, nothing was cohesive. Here, there were still leaders in place. There were still people, a lot of guys, even though you had 23 transfers and 10 freshmen, you still had 50 guys that were part of the previous culture. That I don't think the new culture is so vastly different in terms of what is expected, that they were able to bring those 23 guys in pretty seamlessly and incorporate them into what was already working here. So I get what you're saying. I agree. I just think there's different levels that people don't talk about.
Well,
when you talk about new coach, let's rate all the new coaches. Well, some of them are granted a situation that is inherently better than some of the others.
Sure.
That's all.
And we'll see how.
Sorry. Cincinnati is favored in the rest of their games besides Oklahoma.
I mean, we'll see when we get to them. That's today.
Sure, that's a moving target.
If UC loses 3 games in a row, I don't think they're going to be favored in that 4th game. We'll see. But I think
Dave, everybody's over their skis right now. People are excited.
Hey, I'm excited too. But I think we still got, and that's what I was going to say is we'll see how the rest of the season plays out. But I think initially in the first 2 games, we're seeing a peek into why John Cunningham was so, steadfast in finding a sitting head coach and finding one that has managed a team on a similar level as the Big 12. Because all of those things that we're talking about have been fairly seamless because this coaching staff and everybody has kind of just put on a different polo, so to speak.
Yeah.
You're not I was a big proponent of Sean Lewis. I was a big proponent of John Summerall, and John Summerall's been a head coach for a couple of years. But we're seeing, when you make that type of a hire, I think through 2 games, we're seeing why you want to do that.
Yeah.
Because they look very organized. They have integrated all the new players in what from the outside appears to be a pretty seamless fashion.
Well, Braden Smith, Xavier Henderson, D. Wiggins, those guys don't look new. They don't look like they're finding comfort. Dan Greshik doesn't look like he's finding comfort. I think that's the interesting part is like they don't look like it's taking time.
Well, yeah, they're playing fast. They're playing aggressive. You know, we saw a couple situations, and I think Coach even mentioned it maybe on the coach's show about like there's a fine line between trying to use the clock and then when you sub on that couple seconds too late where you then have to give the other team the chance to sub. I think he said like if you sub around 17 seconds left on the play clock,
they're going to run your timeout.
You're either going to get a delay game or going to need to call a timeout by the time that fat D tackle jogs his ass off the field and the other fat D lineman waddles his way in. Like, you know, they're not exactly in a hurry to make their substitutions for you.
Oh, I thought Briggs did that shit on purpose constantly last year.
Oh, you should.
Yeah.
Like, you're not – I would walk just to see if they would penalize me for legitimately just walking.
So he walked like this.
No, like bounce your upper body while your lower body just walks.
Yeah, he was walking like this, so it looked like. Oh,
and then like don't send the sub on until the guy coming off is totally off the field. Like
at least close.
Yeah, I would push the limit and see what see if they called a delay game penalty on you for doing something like that. But that happened a couple times, but like we haven't seen where guys are looking around being like what's going on, or guys are running routes and Emery's throwing the ball here and another guy's over here and they're coming back to the huddle like talking the play out.
I think we saw our first substitution slow play call timeout in the first half against Pitt, and nothing else has really even been close. Like, I don't feel like we're getting a lot of this.
Snap the ball, or Scott on the sideline being like, hurry up.
Right. I don't feel like we're getting a lot of that. I thought we got it once, and I guess he mentioned it yesterday that offensively, like, we gotta be more cognizant of like.
Yeah,
also,
if we're gonna sub,
if
we're gonna sub, then we need to do it and not wait 8-10
until
seconds.
20 seconds. Yeah,
right.
Because if you wait until 20 seconds, then you're gonna be right at at the wire snapping the ball.
Right, but no, I mean. That was the biggest thing I talked about is like, what does the operation look like?
It looks good.
So far, so good. And I expect it to continue this week, and then we get all jacked up for the first Big 12 game, where apparently there'll be SI swimsuit models on campus.
Do we get to pick?
Which ones?
Yeah.
I don't know. I know the 4 that are going to be at Houston this weekend.
So when I lived in LA, right where we lived was kind of a little surf spot. And Marissa Miller, who ended up being a cover girl.
She became quite famous.
That was, she was
a nobody.
Nobody. And she would surf in that spot. And we would all just be like, right? Like, who is that?
Right.
And then she became very famous. So if she could be there and I could tell her that, we used to surf at the same spot.
I'm sure she would remember.
She would remember surfing at that spot. She absolutely would not remember me.
Well, that's what I mean, you.
Yeah.
Particularly.
Well, I've added a person now, Dave. I've met people that I grew up with and knew for like 15 years that don't know me when they see me. So that's humbling. And then I talk, and they're like, "Oh, Chad, why didn't you talk earlier, you loudmouth fuck?" See, I don't look like that. I don't look anything like that anymore, Dave. You got to look up to get the visual effect.
I've seen that several times.
I don't look like that anymore. People expecting that's not what they get. Anyhow.
Yeah.
National scene, before we get out of here. Anything nationally that's surprising you?
Not really surprising, no. I'm interested in the Ohio State Western Kentucky game this weekend.
Oh, okay.
Not because I think Western's going to win. I think Ohio State might have a really good defense. It's also hard to tell after, Indiana playing Indiana's offense and Youngstown State.
But you would also they brought in last year an awesome defensive coordinator. You would expect it to take a year or so to really get it right.
I'm interested to see how that game goes for next week when they play Notre Dame. Because I think Notre Dame is good. And I'll be interested to see what their offense does in a game that Western might they're not going to stress them. But Western's got some good offensive talent. I mean, they got a quarterback that's probably going to get drafted. He's really good. So how do they look, comparatively speaking, going into a game at Notre Dame next week? That's an interesting national game this week. That's kind of off the radar.
This segment's going to be a lot longer next week. The interesting games this week are almost non-existent.
Oh, I don't think there's a single ranked game this week, and I can think of 5 or 6 off the top of my head for next week.
Will Western Kentucky cover?
What is it, 35? I would probably take the points.
Take Western of the points?
Probably.
I think it's going to be 27.
32, 34, something like that. 28, yeah. 42-14, 45-14.
Sounds about right.
I hope Ohio beats Iowa State because I got the Bobcats over 7.5 wins this year, and then their quarterback got hurt 10 minutes into their first game. So yeah, I need them to win, Jason. They're only giving them it's in Athens, like he said, and I think they're only giving them
Who are they playing? Sorry,
Iowa State is playing OU.
They can't score. Their offense is dreadful.
Yeah, I mean they scored 30 against Northern Iowa and then 13 against Iowa's really good defense.
How much was Northern Iowa though? Their defense set up?
Oh, I'm perpetually interested in the Brian Ferentz drive for 325.
It's not going well.
No, because they had 2 games that they should have been padding the stats on, and they scored 24 against Utah State and 20 against Iowa State.
Right.
So yeah, they're gonna have to score in the 30s against some actual Big Ten teams soon.
Thoughts on the happenings in Madison?
I don't know. I sent out a pithy tweet late Saturday night. That's all I got.
You did.
It was funny.
Yeah. I got some. Are you going to get in trouble for that? And I was like, no. I didn't send it.
you don't coach here anymore. I don't care.
Right.
And it was really stupid. Let's be real. Who's going to the equipment manager being like, hey, can you put team in big block letters on the back of all of my jackets?
Right. You're going to get made fun of at some point. You're going to get made fun of for brick by brick and hold the rope.
Yeah. Represent the C and
Champions of Life.
Champions of Life. 5-star hearts. Yeah.
Big Ten West absolutely sucks this year.
It's not good.
Rinse, repeat.
That's why I had Wisconsin over 8.5 too.
Yeah,
because they got a whole bunch of Northwestern and Purdue and Nebraska and Minnesota on the schedule.
Matt Rule, not the instant answer in Nebraska.
No. Jeff Sims doesn't seem to be the answer at quarterback. Their defense isn't terrible.
Yeah. I think Matt Rule's going to have a strong program.
Oh, he'll get it. I think he'll get it figured out.
Is it going to be enough for them?
Well,
we'll see.
I mean, the Big Ten West is going away, so you could have years where you're getting, 3 out of the 4 big dogs, so to speak.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see when that first time the schedule comes out and somebody's playing Ohio State, USC, and Penn State.
And Michigan and Oregon.
It's true. I didn't even think about the Oregon-Washington part.
Yeah, like now all of a sudden there's not 3 or 4 big dogs in the Big Ten. There's a lot of hungry mouths at the top of that league. I guess that's an interesting. Like, if you're Luke Fickell, do you look at the Big Ten differently if you knew Oregon and Washington were also coming?
Hell yeah!
Because guess what? You're gonna probably be playing both of those teams.
And
regularly.
you're just getting rid of divisions. Like, you're not guaranteed in your 8 conference games to play Nebraska, Northwestern, Purdue, Minnesota, every year.
Right.
So yeah, I mean it's a different deal now.
That job changed real quick. That job changed because Big Ten West, like, yeah, I get it. Like, let's go battle Iowa every year to be the best team
I
in
mean,
Big Ten West.
under the old conference alignment, and if you put the 12-team playoff into the previous years, like Wisconsin's one of the teams that would have benefited the most from a 12-team playoff. Like, they were always winning 9-10 games,
10,
going to the Big Ten championship and then losing to Ohio State and not going to a 14 playoff. They would have been in the 12-team playoff all the time.
Right. And now all of a sudden, you're Wisconsin. Like, you're going to be on Ohio State's schedule regularly. You're going to be on Michigan's schedule regularly. You're going to be on Penn State's schedule regularly because you're one of what is considered the higher, like the above the fold, at least. Like, you're one of the upper half teams.
Oh, yeah.
Or you were. It's going to be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't adapted well to the air raid.
You misspoke. The dairy raid. You know that's what they're calling it, right?
Oh my God.
The dairy raid.
Doesn't dairy make you lethargic heavy? Like,
no, having Tanner Mordecai as your quarterback does.
That one I'll never. I'd love to ask him that one day. Like, you dog walk that guy. You made him look like.
Maybe he just gave Phil Longo carte blanche to bring in whatever quarterback he wanted. Like, if you're
when Phil Longo brings Tanner Mordecai to you, you go, no.
I know, but if you're going to let the guy bring this offense in, like the old Bill Parcells things, like, if you're going to let me buy the groceries, you may as well let me cook the dinner. Like,
yeah, but I would have vetoed that one.
Right. I guess he said it the other way around. If you're going to have me cook the dinner, you got to let me buy the groceries.
Right.
I don't even know what time the backyard brawl is. So it totally dependent on when our game is.
We do not have satellite TV at the Simone family tailgate.
No, we do not. Nope, it's at 7:30. I will not be watching.
No, we'll be watching Cincinnati beat the piss out of Miami.
Yes. Nip
at night. Haven't had one of those on a Saturday since 2019.
2019, correct.
So excited about that. What's the over under on what is supposed to be a perfect football day?
Are we talking Jello shots and beers?
I mean, I think we have to. Don't we?
What's the UC spread? 14.5 right now? 14?
That's it?
Yeah, it opened at 17 and went down to 14.5, like almost immediately. Yeah, this is like what's Vegas know that I don't know? Like, do they know like 10 guys are getting suspended tomorrow or something?
What?
Yeah.
Okay. If it's 14.5, are you going over 14.5 beers and Jello shots? GMAC, that wasn't a Saturday, the ECU game.
Correct. I'm going over.
Okay.
You're
going to do at least 8 or 9 Jello shots.
At least.
On a Saturday, 7 o'clock kickoff. You guys are going to get there at what, like 4?
No, I'll be there before that.
3:30. Yeah. There's going to be at least 8 or 9.
The current line is 14.5. Over under is 45.5. Here's an interesting one for you. There is an early line out on the OU UC game. What do you think it is?
Oklahoma 9.5.
Oh my! Did you see this?
No.
It is 9.5 on FanDuel.
I may not be good at gambling, but I would be good at setting lines.
Yeah. Early line 9.5. I'll be interested to see where that goes when it's officially set for game week.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair line, though.
I think, yeah. I mean, Oklahoma's going to be heavily favored. Like, I get it. Get it? Big Reds win, Dave. They beat the Tigers.
Thank God.
4-3. They threw 14 relievers in the
baseball's
game.
still going on, huh?
Baseball is still happening, Dave. There's like 15 games left.
That's
It's like
interesting.
2 weeks of baseball left. All right. You got anything else?
Spoken like a true Mets fan.
They didn't even hold my attention to training camp this year. That's how bad they were. You know it's going to be a bad year when the best closer in the sport tears his knee celebrating in a meaningless exhibition game.
Yeah.
In like March or whatever. So I pretty much stopped paying attention immediately.
You never even got into Mets baseball this year.
No, I mean, I said this to my buddies the other night. I was like, what a rough weekend for the city of New York. You had Mets and Yankees stink. The Giants lost by 40. Aaron Rodgers tears his Achilles on the 4th play of the game on 9/11.
Yeah.
Like that's a pretty depressing weekend for NYC.
That's the ultimate, like, kick in the nuts New York City weekend.
Oh, well, it's like Giants sucked. At least we got the Jets. Everybody's fired up. Aaron Rodgers, and then just boom.
Done.
And then they still won.
Did you see the bar in Green Bay?
Oh, yeah, I saw that too. Yeah.
That was outstanding.
Everybody had to pay their tabs.
Yeah.
I can only imagine if, like, me and all my friends were there, like, fresh out of college or something, and that happened, we'd have been ordering. I mean, the drinks we would have been ordering and then had to pay for it at the end of the night.
Yeah. How did we have a $300 tab? Damn it.
Yeah, Josh Allen threw 3 interceptions to the same guy. That's how.
Right. You got anything else?
Recruiting. There's some names already dropping.
We'll hopefully have that tomorrow or visits. Friday for a visit list.
Drayden Peavy or Pavy from Cincinnati, big defensive lineman. I guess has changed plans. Was going to go to the backyard brawl, and now has decided to come to the UC game. And then Caden Pining is, I believe, a 2025 tight end from Anderson. He just tweeted that he will be attending as well. I think there's a 2024 defensive end from Alabama, Drew Collins, that I do not believe has an offer, but I think he is visiting, whose brother actually gets snaps for Florida at D tackle this year as a true freshman.
Yeah.
So he might have some, stock in his blood, so to speak.
Yeah.
But, we'll see who else shows up. And then obviously next weekend is going to be the big one, but anybody on the basketball side coming to town this weekend?
Malachi Moreno, who was just bumped up in the rankings, now a top 50 kid in 2025, will be there for
He's
sure.
25. He's 25 or 26?
25, I believe.
25? Okay.
Yeah. I'll do some more digging. We've been dealing with a concussion here the past couple days.
There's no one like for 24 or 25 that they've been on for a while. That's
Moreno they've been on forever.
Well, right.
But no, that everything's kind of pointing towards next weekend. Like they obviously early circled Oklahoma as let's put all our chips on the table for that one. And there is a little bit more rumbling that Cincinnati is in a great position for Tyler Betsy.
I saw that on a competitor's site. But...
Yeah. I've liked where they're at. I think Cincinnati, Alabama, UConn kind of hanging around.
Should we get the brooms out? for
Maybe.
Tyler Betsy?
I mean, I don't know if he's coming. I need to check with him and see if
well, I
he's
mean,
accompanying.
yeah,
I don't. Sometimes they'll bring a coach with them.
yeah.
And I'm sure Kane's angling for.
Tell Kane to come on his own.
Yeah, it's probably cheap to.
Yeah,
Probably on a high school coach's salary, you can
Sure.
just readily make those trips from Connecticut to Cincinnati. But Tyler Betsy and Jace Richards will be at the Oklahoma game. So any young guys, anything else for Miami, I'll have up here in the next day or two. And like I said, hopefully the basketball or the football list will be up here soon.
Do you think there could be more at the Oklahoma game?
I mean,
Or are those kind of the only two like major ones that we've been talking about?
Well, I mean, they officially visited LeBaron.
Well, the 2025 kid, is that this week or Oklahoma? Is it Sutton or Smith or something?
I think that's Oklahoma.
Okay.
I don't know. I look, if you're both if Cincinnati's undefeated, Oklahoma.
White.
Caleb
Sadiq White.
Yeah, Sadiq.
No, yeah, Sadiq White, Oklahoma.
I think if you're big noon kickoff, like you have all of that stuff going for you, you do everything you can to get as many kids here as humanly possible. But a lot of this stuff is orchestrated weeks and months in advance. So maybe they throw some regional kids together to get here between now and then. But we'll be on it.
Looks like
if big noon kickoff is here next Saturday, and there are not a plethora of creative Jace Richards and Tyler Betsy signs in attendance, I will be disappointed.
I agree. Oh, let me see here, Mike. Looks like they had a visitor today. Football 2025 6'4", 220. Mike Tylers stopped by. Trying to find some info on him, but he just tweeted.
All right. But yeah, that's about it. I don't really have anything else. If you're good, I'm good.
I am good. I'm ready for another week that's flying by.
Yeah.
Get this in. Now we're gonna have, just like that, we're gonna have 3 out of 4 games are gonna be home games. So we're gonna go on a spell of road games here coming up. Road game, bye week, home, and then it's really gonna feel like everything's on the road for the back half of the year.
Yeah. Win as many as you can now, sir.
Yep. Stack those W's.
Yep. All right. That's a wrap. Thanks to all of our partners, Holy Grail, Home Field, Turtles Brew, and Team Ticker. We will see you next time. That is the BCJ podcast brought to you by the Holy Grail right here on BearcatJournal.com.